Modern Real Estate Practice, page 412. Roof leaks, unvented combustion appliances, and landscaping or gutters that direct water to the building. The EPA has published guidelines for the remediation and/or cleanup of mold and moisture problems in schools and commercial buildings. Available at www.epa.gov/IED mold 1/mold remediation.html. General mold information can be found at www.epa.gov/IED mold 1/index.html. Mold is an important issue for real estate professionals, particularly because homeowners' insurance policies now generally exclude mold from coverage. Plaintiffs may name property sellers, landlords, property management companies, and real estate professionals as defendants in a case, in addition to construction and insurance companies. In practice, in a 2005 Wisconsin case, Eddie versus BSTV Incorporated, a couple sued a real estate company for failing to disclose mold contamination in the home they purchased. The real estate company's insurer refused to provide coverage, stating that the insurance policy had specific exclusion clauses that would not cover property damage arising out of a real estate professional's failure to render professional services. The couple bringing the lawsuit alleged that the real estate professionals breached the real estate company's professional service responsibilities, and that, therefore, the exclusions applied. The real estate company tried to argue that because its real estate agents were trained in identifying mold-related hazards, the claim did not fit the exclusion clause. The court did not agree, and the real estate company was held liable. The court held that the exclusion clauses in the policy prevented insurance coverage for the injuries. In light of this case and other court decisions on this topic, real estate companies and professionals find it difficult to know what to do when mold is suspected or found on a property. There are no federal requirements to disclose mold contamination at this time, and only a few states require disclosure. Real estate professionals should remind buyers that sellers cannot disclose what they do not know. Also, real estate professionals should advise buyers that they have not only the right, but also the burden to discover the presence of mold. In practice, real estate professionals may need to take extra steps to protect themselves from liability. Those who suspect that mold is present in a home should ask many questions about leaks, floods, and prior damage, and remind the sellers to honestly and truthfully disclose any insurance claims regarding mold and other water issues. Any conversation with a seller should be followed up with a summary of the conversation in writing, even if just an email, particularly if the seller says that there has never been any instance of water damage to the property and the real estate professional suspects that this is not the truth. Copies of all emails and other communications with the seller should be kept in the office's records of the transaction in case they are ever needed. Groundwater protection. Groundwater, water that exists under the Earth's surface within the tiny spaces or crevices in geological formations, forms the water table, the natural level at which the ground is saturated. The water table may be several hundred feet underground or near the surface. When the Earth's natural filtering systems are inadequate to ensure the availability of pure water, any contamination of underground water threatens the supply of pure, clean water for private wells or public water systems. Page 413. Numerous state and federal laws have been enacted to preserve and protect the water supply. Groundwater can be contaminated from a number of sources, including runoff from waste disposal sites, leaking underground storage tanks, septic systems, dry wells, and storm drains, as well as the illegal disposal of hazardous materials and regular use of insecticides and herbicides. Because water flows from one place to another, contamination can spread far from its source. Once the contamination has been identified, its source can be eliminated. Although the water may eventually become clean, the process can be time-consuming and extremely expensive. The Safe Drinking Water Act. The Safe Drinking Water Act, SDWA, was passed in 1974 and amended in 1986 and 1996 to protect public health by regulating the nation's public drinking water supply. The Safe Drinking Water Act authorizes the EPA to set national health-based standards for drinking water. The amendments strengthened the law by increasing source water protection, operator training, funding for water system improvements, and public information. For example, the EPA now requires that water suppliers report any health risk situation within 24 hours instead of the 72 hours mandated originally. One of the EPA's recent concerns is the effect on groundwater of the byproducts produced by hydraulic fracturing fracking, the process used to extract natural gas from the deep layers of rock in which it is embedded. A regularly updated report by the EPA can be found at www.epa.gov/HF study/index.html. In June 2015, the EPA issued a draft executive summary of its ongoing investigation that indicated there was no evidence that hydraulic fracturing had caused widespread systematic impacts on drinking water resources in the United States. Most property disclosure forms require sellers to identify the property's water source, such as well water, municipal water supply, or some other source. Anything other than a municipal water supply should be tested. Also, sellers are generally required to identify the type and location of any septic system used on the property, because an incorrectly placed or poorly functioning system can contaminate the water source. In practice, real estate professionals should educate their sellers about full and honest disclosure concerning the property's water supply and septic systems. Buyers should be educated about potential groundwater contamination sources, both on and off a property. Real estate professionals should always recommend testing the water supply when it is not part of a municipal source. Underground storage tanks. Underground storage tanks, USTs, are commonly found on sites where petroleum products are used, or where gas stations and auto repair shops are or were located. They also may be found in a number of other commercial and industrial establishments, including printing and chemical plants, wood treatment plants, paper mills, paint manufacturers, dry cleaners, food processing plants, and chemical storage or process waste plants. Military bases and airports are also common sites for underground tanks. In residential areas, tanks can be used to store heating oil.